And that takes us to Jake Retzlaff. Last Wednesday, boy, have things changed in a week, right? Last Wednesday, a woman filed a civil suit against Jake for allegedly sexually assaulting her in November of 2023. Jake's representative put out a statement saying that Jake is factually innocent and that his innocence will be established, quote, through the judicial systems. BYU issued a statement that they became aware of the civil lawsuit last Wednesday. The statement said the school takes these matters seriously and won't be providing additional comments. The Honor Code Office is looking into it as they would with any situation like this. Blaine, we'll get your thoughts and we'll kind of tackle this for a little bit. This is a civil lawsuit. We Googled the difference between civil and criminal. A civil trial involves disputes between individuals or organizations with the goal of settling disagreements and awarding monetary damages or other remedies. Basically, this is where you go and you sue for money. A criminal trial involves the government prosecuting individuals accused of violating criminal laws with potential penalties like fines, imprisonment, or probation. This is a civil trial. The time to get a civil trial in front of a jury right now is typically 18 to 24 months. Now, the courts will decide the outcome of the civil lawsuit. Our opinion about this terrible situation is that we hope everyone's treated fairly and with respect. And that's what we're going to say about the case tonight. But I'll tell you what, let's start with just the curveball that has rocked the football program since last Wednesday. Whether someone saw this coming or not, time will tell, but man, what a punch to the gut, huh?
Yeah, and I don't think anybody did see this coming, Dave. I happened to have crazy timing last week when this came out. I was up on campus at the student athlete building. I needed to stop by and talk to Brian Santiago, our new athletic director, about something. And he was walking up the stairs with me toward his office, and we kind of finished up our conversation, and he got a phone call. And he said, "Oh, I have to grab this." And he went off. And then I went into the football office and watched some film for a few minutes with Hunter Clegg, our new defensive end, and with my son, Coach Fowler. They were kind of going through some film. So I probably spent 25 minutes in there. On my way in, I waved to Kalani, and he asked me where I was going. I told him I was going to go watch film with Gavin and Hunter. He goes, "Hey, stop in and talk to me on your way out." And on my way out, Kalani, like, he was on the phone. He was sitting on the couch, and I could tell it was a very serious conversation. He saw me, held over the phone. He goes, "Dude, I'm like, just we'll catch up later. I'll talk to you later." So I am pretty certain that both Brian and Kalani were made aware of this for what was going for the first time when I was there that day. So I think they found out almost as soon as we all found out, because we all found out just a couple hours later as it was released. So nobody knew this was coming. I'd hate to be BYU right now because they're in a really, really unusual situation, one that the university has never found itself in before. And you and I were talking about this for quite some time earlier today. We can't think of a similar situation where they've ever been in, where they have a high-profile athlete, not in a criminal case, but in a civil case. And civil cases, the fact that they take so long to kind of work themselves out or to ever even get to a jury trial. You and I we ended our conversation saying, man, we're really glad that we don't have to be the people at BYU that have to decide the direction they go on this. And I guess we'll just leave it at that. I think it blindsided everybody. I'm pretty certain of that. And now BYU's got to kind of sit back and weigh everything and try to figure out what the best thing to do on this is. And I'm with you. You just hope that everyone gets treated fairly and with respect, and we hope that the media doesn't, and we're part of the media, and we're not going to make a bunch of predictions or weigh in on stuff that we don't have perfect knowledge on. So we're going to leave it at that. But what we will talk about is what does it mean for BYU football in the quarterback position, right?
Yeah, and the timeline. Here we are at the end of May. Camp is at the end of July. There's only June in between there, and so it becomes what to do. What to do if, for one reason or another, Jake's not the quarterback on August 30th. When Wednesday hit, it was impossible to think that he could be. But with the passing days and still haven't heard from the Retzlaff camp, as they've told them they're not going to do this through the media. If could he come back if he just was suspended a few games, if it became an honor code thing and that this civil case went away, or was such where Jake is going to defend himself and he has every right to, and BYU, they defend their students. You have to, if they believe they're innocent. And so it just puts I'd love to be in Kalani Sitake's head, because it puts them in a spot of, okay, well, who do we have to get ready for August 30th? Or maybe the whole season. And they have guys, and we're going to talk about it, and that's also our Cougar Board question of the week, talking about, hey, if Jake can't go, and again, we don't know if he will or not, but we do know that who's behind him and capable of starting. And so as we dive into that, let me just say this. St. Anthony, Idaho's on the stream. Brian from Dallas, Stephen from Hobble Creek, Utah, Bruce from Vernal, Utah, Nick from Pensacola, Florida. Dirk is in from North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And Craig said he's in from 35,000 feet. So I don't know if you're in at 35,000 feet or you're above. Maybe you say I'm above the show at 35,000 feet. He's either hiking a mountain or he's flying in a plane. Wow. Everyone really kind of wanting to know what we're about to march into now, as we consider BYU's options moving forward. If Jake isn't playing quarterback at the start of the season or at all, who will it be?
And here, and I can't see the name that great, but somebody's saying anything that BYU does is going to be criticized one way or the other. And I agree with that. There'll be people that'll be on both sides of this. And we're going to say right now, like you and I had a long conversation about this just between us, Dave. And we're like, it could be anything from, because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the honor code officer or any of that, up to it could be anything from, no, he's in good standing, he's going to play. So it could be nothing in terms of football, or it could be, hey, we're investigating this on our own, he could be suspended a few games. Or it could be, hey, while this thing is pending, he's going to sit down this season. It could be anywhere along the spectrum. It could be anywhere from he's a starting quarterback on day one until he's not playing this year. And so the question we were asking ourselves today is, okay, if it is Jake and he starts the first game, well, then it's Jake. Then it's just business as usual, right? And we don't know that that's going to be the case. If he misses some time or the whole season, what's BYU going to do? Who are they going to play? Who is behind him right now, and who is the most likely to play? And so you and I got into that discussion. We thought that we do have some knowledge on.
Yeah.
And so we ought to spend our time on that tonight. So in the event that Jake isn't playing, and we're not saying that is what's going to be decided here, but in the event that that's the case, who plays? And what are their skills? And what do they bring to the position? So we thought that might be good to cover with everybody tonight.
Let's start with McKay Hillstead, 5'10", sophomore from Lehigh, Utah. In 2023, he played 8 games at Utah State, threw for over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdown passes. He threw 8 interceptions. He's been in the system now for a year to learn Aaron Roderick's offense. Can McKay Hillstead beat Portland State on August 30th?
Yeah, I think McKay is really, really skilled. And he's got, the first time I saw him throw was about a year ago in a workout with John Beck. And he had McKay there, and he had Treyson there, and he had Jake there. I'm telling you what, I was blown away by his arm strength. Because McKay's not a big guy. As you mentioned, he's like 5'10". Yeah. He is pretty solidly built, but he's a little guy by Division I, especially Power 4 standards at that position. And he has a rocket for an arm, like a big-time arm. He can make all of the throws. He can throw that 18-yard comeback. That's the hardest throw for a quarterback to make. He can throw from the far hash on a 10-yard out route all the way to the sideline, no problem at all. So plenty of arm strength. he's very athletic. Like, he can run around, he can make people miss. We saw that at his time at Utah State. So he's very athletic and he can make plays with his feet. My only concern about McKay is he's not a big dude. And I think when you're new in an offense, sometimes you make up for decision making because you're a little confused. You're not getting the ball out quite on time. You're going to run around. Is he big enough to take the pounding that might come for a young quarterback at his size that has to go make some plays with his feet? So that's my question for him. I don't have any question that he can make all the throws. He seems to be a confident guy, and I love his mobility. I think he can make some plays with his feet. And I do like the fact that he played in 8 games, and he threw for over 1,000 yards. So he's got experience. It's not the P4 level. It's the G5 level, or G6, whatever you want to call it these days. And so there's an adjustment, but he's been in the system for a year. So that's my take on McKay. Can he beat Portland State? Absolutely, he can beat Portland State.
Tom on the stream says, is Hillstead's height a problem or not? How tall was the dude at Texas A&M that was a magician in college? Didn't work out for him in the pros.
5'11". He's similar.
Yeah.
You have 5'10" guys in the NFL now. The game's a little bit different. Where even in the NFL, they're moving the quarterbacks around a little bit more. So they're not just dropping back, standing in the pocket. They're moving them around. In the NFL, they don't involve them in the run game. Like, we talk about, RPOs, run pass options, or zone reads, where the quarterback has the option to give it to the back or keep it and go off the edge as the end comes down. Well, we talk about it on our After Further Review show all the time. They don't run that in the NFL, but even in the NFL now, Kyler Murray, the All-American from Oklahoma, he's like 5'9" or 5'10". Russell Wilson is like 5'10", 5'11". So it's not like it was 20 years ago where everybody's looking for a 6'3", 6'4" drop back guy to stand in the pocket and just throw the ball down the field. Teams are looking for more mobile quarterbacks, and there are some guys at 5'10" and 5'11" in college football that are very good, and there's even a couple of them in the NFL. So it is harder when you're doing a straight drop back pass to see through the passing lanes. But I'll tell you, if you're 6'2" and you got 4 defensive linemen in that range from 6'4" to 6'7" coming at you with their arms up, and a bunch of 6'6" and 6'7" and 6'8" guys in front of you protecting you, you don't see over the top of anybody no matter how tall you are. You have to have anticipation. You have to know where the receivers are at what time, and you have to throw the ball in throwing lanes. And so I think you have to be a little more gifted at that and be a little quicker with the ball getting it out if you're 5'10". But I think McKay Hillstead has proven that he can play, college football at his height. Now,
Zach says he may be short, but I wonder if the release point of the ball is still higher than Jake's funky throwing motion. What do you think about that?
That's a really good observation. Who is it that said that? That was
Zach. Yeah.
Because Jake has a tendency to drop the ball down kind of in the pocket. Remember, Jake was a really good middle infielder in baseball, and sometimes you see that throwing release as a baseball player just a little bit more 3/4, almost sidearm, and sometimes Jake does that. And so McKay Hillstead's arm release, where he does throw it more like traditional, right here. A traditional is like just a little bit inside of 3/4. You don't throw it from straight over the top. You throw it from, I don't know if people can see that since I'm in the Zoom. They should be able to see that. You throw it from here, comes back to the ear, and it comes straight through here. McKay has a very, very, his throwing motion is very sound. Like it's more textbook than Jake's, that's for sure. And he has, for his size, he has tremendous velocity on the ball. Very good arm.
Linda checking in from Saratoga Springs. Will they start practicing in the fall with the other quarterbacks with the first team, since it's likely Jake won't be back? That's her question. That's what we're talking about, Linda. Jake, by the way, is at practice with everyone else, doing what they do as they get ready for the season. So that's what's going on right now. Let's talk about Treyson Bourghade, 6'2", junior, Tucson, Arizona. In 2022 and 23, played 10 games at Western Michigan. He threw for over 1,300 yards and 6 touchdowns. He also ran for 219. He's also been running the offense for over a year now. What about Bojo? Could he be the starter on August 30th?
Yeah, so Treyson
Bourghade, yeah.
I really like Bourguet. I really like the way that Treyson carries himself out there. Very, very confident. He picked up the offense, I thought, really quickly. And through spring ball last year, I just watched him. I don't think they had any plans for him going into spring ball. And I think 2 weeks into spring ball, they're like, hey, this dude can actually play. So he proved himself in very quick fashion, I think, because he mastered the offense very quickly. He's a little bit bigger than McKay at 6'2". You can see from his stats, rush for 219 yards. He's also mobile. I feel like McKay's a little quicker feet, make more people miss. Treyson can run away, extend plays with his feet. He can get out there and he can get some yardage rushing the football as well. I love the fact that he played in 10 games and threw for over 1,300 yards. So very, very capable. He also has excellent mechanics. Like I watch his feet, I watch his release point. Very impressed with his mechanics. Has all the arm strength that you need to compete at this level. And he comes from a family of really, really good quarterbacks. His brother was a backup at Arizona State. He's been well trained coming into this. So I think Treyson's a guy that's ready for the moment as well. You remember, Dave, last year, by the end of spring ball, I was talking about Treyson to you. I was like, hey, Treyson Bourghade, like, he's a guy that changed his trajectory during spring ball last year, where I think he went from, oh, he'll be a nice insurance policy to, hey, you know what? This guy could be the guy at some point here. And so he's very, very capable. And I'll say the same thing about Treyson that I did about McKay. Treyson can go out and beat Portland State and win games for you at quarterback. The junior out of Tucson is very skilled. I felt pretty good about the quarterback room last year in the fall with Jake as the starter and these two guys backing up. And I feel the same this year, only McKay and Treyson now have a whole year in the program and 2 spring balls. So
Sylvia's on the stream from Wisconsin, taking us to the Midwest. Still waiting for Chicago to check in. The Cubs played earlier today, so there should be no distractions in the Windy City. Carrie has a question about Bear Bachmeier, 6'2", 225-pound freshman from Murrieta, California. 4-star coming out of high school, signed with Stanford. Stanford fires their coach, as you talked about earlier, and Bachmeier comes to BYU, who was hot on his tail in the recruiting process. Jeff Hansen of 24/7 Sports last week says he sees a lot of Taysom Hill in Bear Bachmeier with his ability to move. High school kid, lots of talent. It's a long summer. Could Bear Bachmeier be ready?
So the problem for Bear is he is a freshman. So remember, he graduated early and he enrolled at Stanford so he could participate in spring ball. But through the course of spring ball, he made a case that he should be the starting guy for them as a true freshman this fall. With a true freshman, you're just there's gonna be a learning curve. No matter how talented or skilled you are, you're gonna think you can push the ball into spots that you shouldn't try to push the ball into. You're gonna make some decisions that are going to be costly. But here's what I'll say about Bear Bachmeier. He is so skilled. His talent level is very, very high. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the country coming out for a reason. He's a dual threat guy. So as a young guy, he'll be able to, if it seems a little confusing out there, he'll be able to chuck the ball and take off and run. But the difference is he looks like he's closer to 230 or 235 to me right now. He's a big dude. He may be able to take the punishment a little bit more early on, where decision-making maybe isn't as quick as you want it, so you got to eat it and you got to go run with it. He's big and may be able to kind of take that punishment and be fine. His big arm, he's very competitive. He's very confident. The only knock for Bear will be there's going to be a learning curve because he's going to be a true freshman. And he just went through spring ball. It would have been nice if he went to spring ball at BYU. He went through at Stanford and Troy Taylor's offense. Troy gets fired. And so now he's got to learn a brand new offense. But the sky is the limit with Bear Bachmeier in terms of what he is capable of doing. And Jeff Hansen told you, I saw that when he was on the show with you last week about he reminds you of Taysom Hill. Somebody asked me that. In fact, it might have been the Meeks at the pool today here in St. George said, is he built like Taysom Hill? And I kind of looked at him and went, guys, nobody's built like Taysom Hill. Like, come on.
No.
Taysom Hill's a freak in the NFL. Like, people in the NFL go, what? The NFL is a whole league of freakish people, and everybody in the NFL thinks that Taysom's a freak. So nobody's built like Taysom Hill. Bear is similar in weight and height, but Bear's just a little bit thicker, and he's really athletic. But you can't compare athletes to Taysom Hill.
Right.
Taysom's like 235 pounds, 5.5% body fat, squats 600, benches 450, and runs a 4.35 40. He's one of the freakiest athletes in the history of the game. So no, Bear Bachmeier he is not built like Taysom Hill. Nobody is. But I really like the way Bear Bachmeier is built to play quarterback at BYU. So there you go.
Middleton, Idaho on the stream. Bob from down the road in Provo. David in from McGrath, Alberta, as we talk about the quarterback situation and the Jake Retzlaff situation here at BYU. Hillstead and Bourguet, both are mentally tough kids. Both have D1 starting experience. Both are mobile. Both redshirted last year. They got a full year in A-Rod's offense. How does this change their summer?
It really shouldn't, but it does. Meaning, you should prepare in the summer, even if the odds are that you're going to be the backup. To be the best backup you can be, you have to always assume in your mind, even if I'm the backup, I am one snap away from being the starter here. I have to prepare as if I'm the starter. I have to show leadership as if I'm the starter. I have to act like I have to carry myself. I have to prepare as if I'm starting game one. They should have been doing that anyhow, but now it just got a little more real, right? Now maybe the story they're telling themselves inside their head that I have to do this hits home a little bit more. But to me, the preparation shouldn't be any different. Now, if I'm A-Rod and these guys and it is up in the air and we really don't know, I'm just making sure that as they're doing player run practices and those things, that those guys get time. And maybe they all get equal time. And you know what? In the summer, you kind of do that anyhow during the summer. But hopefully by fall camp, there'll be a little more light shed on all of this. And A-Rod will have a better understanding of whether he's going to have Jake or not. And then when fall camp starts, you would dramatically change the rep pattern. But in the summer, they should all be splitting reps anyhow. Everybody should get to throw with the firsts and the seconds and the thirds, and they should be getting time because you really are trying to develop depth at quarterback over the summer months. And those guys should be preparing as if they're the starter, period. Whether Jake's full go status or not, that's how they have to prepare. Because guess what? The backup ends up being the starter in a lot of cases every single year in college football. It's a physical game out there, and the Big 12 is one of the most physical leagues in America. You better be preparing like you're the guy.
Michael from Beaumont, Texas is on the stream. Michael, good to have you here. And we're talking about BYU's future, immediate future at quarterback if Jake isn't ready to play or can play this fall. And let's say we just want to be clear. We love Jake. We've seen Jake grow and develop into a fantastic human being. We've spent a lot of time with him. We hope this isn't what it seems to be. You know, first and foremost, we're disappointed that two human beings are in a mess like this, and we want the best possible outcome for both of them, for their lives. It's not just about whether or not someone can play a football game or not, but as we talk about the reality of maybe Jake's not available under these circumstances. You look at what BYU has for Bourguet or Hillstead or even Bachmeier in a wild move. If you put the freshman in there, you have L.J. Martin, who's healthy and running as a beast. You have Chase Roberts back for his swan song, one of the best receivers in the Big 12. You have a big offensive line. You have the Big 12's number one defense, the best kicker in the Big 12 with Will Farron. I mean, you have a team. In years past, BYU's quarterback, and you know, Blaine, BYU's quarterback has to be so great to offset weaknesses all over the place. This isn't that here in May, June of 2025. Thank you for watching The Wise Guys.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button.